Lackluster performance on Bitcoin here. We managed to top out pretty much at that resistance zone at about 116, 117k. Since then, we found support exactly where we were expecting on the previous live stream. So shout out to those of you that are subscribed to the channel. That turned out to work out perfectly. We did see a continuation upward there for Bitcoin, and it again got rejected at the same price level here. So this is actually kind of one of the more likely scenarios that I was telling you about on yesterday's live stream that I thought was going to play out. So I'm glad that this is happening, where we are responding as we should to support and to resistance. Essentially, all that means is that Bitcoin is kind of finding itself in a bit of a sideways range here, but it's doing that, you know, honestly, in a place of quite a bit of strength here. So I'm quite okay with this. I actually like the idea that Bitcoin might be slowing down a little bit, because this has been a pretty relentless rally, right? From this low right here up until this high, there were basically no real retracements. There was a tiny one here, but that was 9% up in about 4 days with a 2% pullback in between. So, you know, it's definitely nice to see that the trend is pausing a little bit right now. What I don't like is, like, look at how much strength there is in the stock market, right? I mean, this is another day here, ladies and gents, where the stock market has actually gapped higher than where it closed, right? It closed over here, and it opened all the way up here with this new trading day here, Tuesday. So obviously this is coming to a close now, right? This is going to be closed pretty much when most of you end up watching this video. But it's been another strong day here, and we can see why. I actually personally have started to build up some positions in the stock market, which I'm really happy for. Tesla here looks fantastic. Nvidia has announced a partnership with Palantir, which is probably also up today as well. So as you guys know, look, crypto, you know, is great. I love crypto. It's going to be my main thing. But, you know, sometimes, like right now, Bitcoin isn't moving and stocks are, and I fully intend on taking advantage of that. I fully intend on trading it. In fact, every week what we're doing inside of BroFi is I'm going to be giving you guys information on the kind of trade setups that I'm looking at in this market. So that's going to be right here at the top of the description, where you can get inside. You're at early access right now, so it's the cheapest it's ever going to be, and you're going to have a price lock. So while we increase prices, you're not going to have to worry about that for 1 full year. So check that out. Really cool. You're actually not even paying renewals right now because it's in early access. So you pay that 100 and you are in, and you get direct access to me. We've got our group chat. We're covering lots of important ground here. We've already had some wins in the group chat, which is really cool, considering that this only launched a few days ago here. So definitely check it out if you do want to get inside while it's still intimate, with that link in the description here. But like I said, because of that, you know, stocks looking interesting. I think stocks have kind of led the charge today for, you know, traditional finance. Obviously, you know, everything's basically either at all-time highs or getting toward it again. Here's Apple still sitting at all-time highs pretty much here. So lots and lots of strength here. And, you know, like I've been saying for these last few days, I definitely think that it's just one of those cases where, look, Bitcoin does lag behind sometimes. It can lag behind for up to 2 weeks typically in normal circumstances. So if we are seeing this thing slow down a little bit here, you know, while the stock market is flying, that is fine, you know, for a period of time. So we're going to keep on watching this. There's still a lot of leeway I'm willing to give this market. I like the idea that Bitcoin is actually moving in a kind of controlled way, because what I really think is super likely to happen with all of the strength that we're seeing from traditional finance is that if things start kind of cooling off over here, you know, a little bit of sideways trading action, maybe even a pullback, but then kind of continuing on and looking strong, I think that's going to be exactly what kind of paints the situation for Bitcoin to absolutely melt through all of our resistance levels and print, you know, potentially a 10k god candle or something insane like that. I think it's actually very likely for something like that to happen at this stage, given how this recovery has looked so far and how closely tied to the stock markets Bitcoin actually has been throughout, you know, these last few years, really. So I definitely think that that's something that could end up working in Bitcoin's favor. Now, dominance-wise, we've seen, you know, just more kind of fluctuation, still continuing on that same trend. Ethereum against Bitcoin holding on in roughly the same place. Sol BTC holding on in roughly the same place. Look, a lot of these key altcoins, Cardano actually looking like it might be breaking down here, but I think that's only going to happen if the rest of crypto breaks down against Bitcoin, so I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. XRP looking fantastic. XRP against Bitcoin also looking great. Litecoin one of the coins that I've obviously been very interested in for some time now. Just looking beautiful. Not really moving a whole lot, but definitely looking pretty nice. I'm not sure why I can't load Litecoin right now, but you could just imagine the chart, I'm sure, because it looks the same all the fucking time. Gold is seeing a little bit more of a continuation down, all right? So this has turned into, from its all-time high now down to this low, it's turned into more than a 10% drop. And again, keeping in mind the kind of, market cap of gold, I don't think this is updated. Let's see, 27.5 trillion now. So, going from over 30 trillion now to, 27.5 is obviously a fairly sizable drop here for gold in terms of its market cap. Nothing too concerning at all. I mean, you were kind of expecting something like this ultimately. We were talking about it on the channel. I was saying, look, things are getting a little bit crazy. Now is where we have to remind ourselves that actually, assets can go down as well, in addition to just going up all the time. So, that's kind of happened here. And then as far as where it might find support, I think there's great support down here at like 3,400, stuff like that, which is really, really exciting. Bybit does actually allow you to trade gold right now. In addition to other indices, I think maybe even a couple of stocks. I'm not entirely sure on that. But that is really, really cool. So check out Bybit if you are interested. They're giving you still the best bonuses in the game, up to 30K in free trading capital that you can throw back into the market. Any profit you generate with that is going to be for you to keep. Really, really cool. Blofin is a great alternative as well. They don't let you trade traditional finance just yet, if I'm not mistaken, but they do have easier bonuses, so you will get more free money to trade with, depending on the size of your deposits and trades. So really, really cool stuff. Well worth checking all that out while you are down there for BroFi. This is sick. You guys want to get inside this before it gets super busy. We're gonna really start dialing up the heat over time, but if you do get in now, like I said, you're getting a price that nobody else is going to be seeing in the future. So really, really cool stuff. So back to Bitcoin here. I think resistance right where it's at makes sense. If we do end up falling below support here, then I'm probably going to be looking probably honestly back down to the bottom of this range, about 107. But I don't really think it's going to hold. There are a couple of support levels that are going to be useful before that, like 112 or whatever, but yeah, they are there, so I don't want to kind of totally dismiss them, but I don't think that they're going to be, the most important or the most reliable levels that this chart does have to offer. I think for sure if we start losing this level, it's not going to be a pretty picture for Bitcoin. I think it really depends on TradFi, right? Like if traditional finance continues to hold strong here, I don't really see how Bitcoin's going to get a dump. And if traditional finance continues to, kind of get pumps here, I also don't see how Bitcoin can stay suppressed, right? I think eventually Bitcoin's going to have to get that explosion. And I think that explosion is probably going to be more violent than anything else. So that's something that I'm definitely very, very curious to see how it does end up playing out. I think altcoins generally, like I said, I think they look good. We looked at them against Bitcoin, but against the dollar, I think they still look strong and healthy. I think everything looks pretty good. I'm very, very excited to see where stocks might go. I was thinking of making a big video on Tesla specifically, because I think Tesla is probably going to be one of the bigger winners. There is the privacy coin narrative. I want to quickly take a look at XMR. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to load anything here, so bear with while I do try and get this pulled up here. And then I do want to take a look at, first of all, let's look at Zcash. After this, I do want to take a look at some of the news articles and stuff if we do have a chance to go through them. But, I mean, for some reason, this is just not working. So I guess let's just switch straight over to some of the news stuff, which is obviously going to be quite interesting. Let's take a look at what these brilliantly intelligent journalists have to say. All right, so what we got here, stock bulls drive S&P 500 above 6,900 on AI wagers. So AI is leading the rally. No surprises there. A rally in the world's largest technology companies sent stocks to all-time highs amid speculation that artificial intelligence will keep driving earnings for the group that has powered the bull market. While most shares in the S&P 500 took a breather after the gauge saw a series of records, tech megacaps kept rising. Microsoft Corporation finalized a new pact with OpenAI that will give the software giant a 27% ownership stake worth about $135 billion. OpenAI also just officially went from non-profit to for-profit today. So big moves there as well. Apple Incorporated briefly topped 4 trillion. NVIDIA unveiled a new system to connect quantum computers with the company's AI chips. It's fucking GG for us, ladies and gents. This is fucking scary. On Wednesday and Thursday, 5 big techs accounting for about a quarter of the US benchmark are due to report results. Investors will be looking for assurances that the billions of dollars for computing infrastructure will continue and ultimately pay off down the road. This group has repeatedly reassured investors that the AI theme is alive and well, given the number of deals that have been announced over the past few months. It seems likely that this narrative will continue so long as Wall Street rewards them for this approach. Meantime, with a Federal Reserve rate cut seen as a done deal Wednesday, okay, so that's tomorrow, traders are hoping for clarity as to when officials should stop shrinking the portfolio of securities. Bets have grown they may end quantitative tightening as soon as this month. Honestly, it's pretty much GG for these markets. I mean, all you got to do is apply a little bit of common sense. I think the only narrative that doesn't really fit in with what I'm saying being bullish is that, you know, transition periods, you know, do cause bear markets a lot of the time, or have correlated with bear markets. Certainly can't say that they cause them. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair take. I think, you know, if that's your argument, then, you know, that I can't see why you would say that. But I would also have to counter with the same thing I've been saying for the last year, which is that rates have been cutting for a year now, and the markets have actually been very, very bullish. So where's your evidence, dude? You know, like you got good speculation there, but as far as what we're seeing right now, you're not getting anything confirming what you have to say, and you're actually constantly being disproven. If you've been bearish going into this. Now, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It could mean that you're very, very right. But while we're figuring out if you're right or wrong, there are people making money right now. And I intend on being one of those people. If you do turn out to be right, all of those bears that are expecting a big recession, depression, I intend on flipping, you know, my bias when the time is right. But right now there is still the sun shining. There is still money to be made. And I actually think it's going to be going on for quite a bit longer. That's my personal take there. That doesn't mean I'm going to be right. You can read the disclaimer. Don't be an idiot. Let's continue on here, though. So that's all happening ahead of Trump's Thursday meeting that's in 2 days with Xi Jinping. The Wall Street Journal reported that the US would roll back some tariffs if Beijing cracks down on the export of chemicals that produce fentanyl. The S&P 500 topped 6,900. A gauge of the Magnificent 7 mega caps climbed 1.4%. The yield on 10-year treasuries was little changed to 3.98%. The dollar edged lower. All right. Just talking about a bunch of big tech companies here. We expect another strong round of mega cap tech earnings reports. I mean, of course, these guys are just going to keep on soaking up the whole world. Stock market's record highs leave little room for disappointment when it comes to big tech earnings. Given how so much of the S&P 500 market cap consists of Magnificent 7 names, if any of those earnings reports disappoint, that could cause a sell-off. I don't know, is this stuff like useful information to the average reader? Like the average reader can't figure this out themselves? Instead of dreaming about AI's future, investors are now becoming more skeptical about how much cash these companies are tossing at AI projects that may or may not work out. This happens with every tech innovation, so you should expect highs and lows as the world processes a new reality. Can these companies afford that massive bill? Of course they can. We're far from the tech bubble days. But at what cost? Tech is corporate America's golden child. They're known for quality balance sheets and wide competitive moats. Their AI pursuits could threaten these labels at a time when tech companies need to be near perfect. I think these guys are a little bit overly dramatic. I think experimentation is fine. This is a new generation of how the world works. I think it's okay if there's a little bit of a stumble. NVIDIA officially breaks $200 a share for the first time in history, now 3% away from becoming the first company ever to hit $5 trillion in market cap. My goodness. My goodness. All right, so Jim Cramer's given us the top signal there. That's interesting. All right. And let's head back over to the charts. Talk about those. Let's see if I can load up any charts now or no. Okay, yes I can. So we're working again. Let's go to Zcash first. See what this is saying. Alright, so no continuation here. Actually a little bit of a pullback, which is really nice. That's going to start giving a potential buy level down at about kind of 294. Could even be cheeky with it and target 270. Totally reasonable somewhere in this range to capture a little bit of support. Does make sense to me, so I'll be watching this level. Something a little bit like that. There we go. And let's take a look at XMR then by comparison, because if this is down, then hopefully XMR is down. Oh no, it's actually up. But still sitting at the same place. Basically, you know, pre-breakout it feels. Yeah, this has been a level that XMR has kind of been brushing against for quite some time now. It does look like it's really trying for that breakout. If it does get a breakout, I mean, there's an easy 27% just here up to that all-time high. It's more like a 50. So this is it's interesting. It's got a $6 billion market cap. That's going to put it pretty high, to be honest. That's going to put it like, let's take a look. XMR, so we got 6 bill right here. That's position number 21, right behind Litecoin. There we go, legends. There we go. So, you know, that's something that we'll be watching out for here in this market. Definitely something that I think is interesting. And like I said, I am giving my actual kind of, you know, information on trade setups I'm looking at as they develop. We're doing weekly live streams, very intimate live streams, taking charts, you know, having real discussions with members inside of BroFi, and laying out my own personal trading plan for the week ahead every week here inside of BroFi. To check that out if you haven't done so already. Well worth checking out. Huge gains I've seen from people from previous versions of this program. This is the best version so far. You guys that joined do have access to the old course. It's being re-recorded, so you're getting access to the new ones as we're dropping episodes. As we're going to have a new batch of episodes dropping probably today or tomorrow. So really excited for that. All right, ladies and gents, thank you all very much for tuning in. You know what to do. Subscribe, tick the bell, hit up those likes, all that good stuff. And we'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.